Hello. Okay, this is the second video that you should be watching that shows the process of working on the color studies project. The very first video in your folder is just an introduction where you can actually see my face, and I can show you sort of the finished project and sort of talk you through the color schemes that you're going to be learning and using. And then the first video shows you how to make a tracing from an image. And so I want to show you this is the image that I made in the first video, which is a little bit hard to see because it's faint. But if I put it against something solid, it's a little bit easier to see, but it's in the first video. I also wanted to show you that anything can make a good image for this. I want you to keep it simple. And what I'm going to do here is just show you what this looks like. Just a picture of a bunch of pumpkins. And I'm not going to worry about the text, but this would also make a good image because it would be simple shapes. You could simplify it down into simple shapes. And if I were tracing this off, this is not a pencil, obviously. This is a tool that I'm going to show you in a second, but I would skip over the letters. And then in the previous video, I told you how you need to kind of make note of the darkest values. So that would be the background, actually, in this piece. I would skip all the letters and just kind of imagine the lines continuing through those letters. And this would be, something like this would be really nice. So this is a really easy kind of image that you can find in, I think this was just like in a food magazine. And this, the one that I'm going to be working with for the rest of the example was a picture of from a sports, it was like a sports photograph. Okay, you can see it a little bit better if you look at, this is the side that I actually traced. And you can see that I made some notes in the previous video. The reason I'm showing you the flip side is that you are going to be transferring this image to your Bristol. So this is your Bristol pad, and so you want to take this and you can decide whether to simply make a reverse of this image, which means this is the side that the pencil is on. You're just going to flip it. And there's a few different ways you can do this. This is a tool called a bone folder. You don't have to have a tool like this. This was one of the things that I had ordered for your kits that was on back order. But it's just a smooth object that you can use to glide over and rub over your pencil marks. Don't have to have this. You can improvise. This is a cuticle pusher. It would be really similar to using a chopstick. You could use a small spoon. I actually have like a really small wooden spoon. That would work great. And I want to show you what's happening is that you're rubbing the graphite image off. So, problems that you may encounter. Oh, also wanted to show you that like the end of a paintbrush works really well. And also just like taking your pencil and just going over all of your lines again will also help transfer your lines. Okay, problems you might encounter. If you have, like, for example, here, my lines were really light. So constantly look and check, but even a line this light is enough to then make a drawing from, and it's more visible to me than it is on the camera. But if it's too light, go over this area with your pencil again and then make the rubbing from it. And you will have to kind of constantly flip back to see what you're missing. I wouldn't worry so much about transferring all your little letters because you can keep this and this can be your map. But every few seconds, check so that you can make sure that you've transferred all of your lines. It doesn't need to be super dark because you're going to add color to this, and then you're going to go over it with your Pitt pens to make it a crisper and nicer image. And you're really not going to need these pencil lines. These are just to give you a map or an outline for your image. And remember that you're keeping the shapes really simple. So even pressure. The whole idea here is just to transfer the graphite. Okay. So what if you want to make your image exactly the same orientation that it is in your photograph? What you would need to do is, so this is the side that I drew on. You would need to flip this around and use a pencil to trace over, because it's see-through paper, so you can see all of your lines. You would need to then trace all of this, and then you would flip it so that you're looking at it the right way, the way that it is in the photograph, and then you would do your rubbing. The only tricky part is that sometimes, especially if you use the same color, so like if you know, I trace this with the pencil. If I then want to flip this over and trace this with the pencil, there are going to be some spots that you're probably going to forget. So you'll just have to go back and fix those spots by tracing over them again and doing the rubbing. Alternatively, you could use a colored pencil, but that's going to be a little bit harder for you to mask after you do your color study. Okay, but that is an option. If you want to have your transferred image look exactly like this, trace over this on the reverse side, then flip it so that you're looking at it the way that you want it to be oriented, the way it was in the photograph, and do your rubbing. I don't think that it matters very much. For my example anyway, I don't think it matters very much that it's flipped. So I would save yourself some time and just reverse the image. Yep. Okay. So I have obviously not transferred the entire image for the purposes of this video, but in the next step, I will show you, and all of this will be transferred. And then we will actually start blocking in color.